hosts. I don't even know
Man,
how they.
I
You wouldn't even
am
think that'd be allowed.
excited.
That should
Yeah,
be
and Jesse,
forbidden. Hey, Jesse, Eric,
Space
Mike
Coast.
from the space. Good to
Jesse,
see
welcome.
everyone
I
popping
know.
in.
Just
Oh,
got
here
a
we go.
notification that we're live. Catherine, Tammy and John are
Hey,
on
Kevin.
Catherine's YouTube. That's confusing. Welcome, guys. Hey,
Yes.
super excited. Live Q&A, and I cannot wait
Yep.
to do it.
One of my
Dave,
favorite.
how are you doing, man?
I couldn't be any better. If I was, I'd be twins, man. I'm
Yeah.
killing it. I'm exhausted. I'm not gonna lie. I'm guessing you are too, because we're pushing. We're pushing. That's how we grow, people. That's how we grow. Jordan's
Not
got his
exhausted.
monster.
I got my liquid energy.
I've got my Propel, which doesn't
All
give me
right.
any energy, but it's
Probably
much
better for
needed.
you.
It's much
Yeah.
needed.
So please, what's up? Oh
We
man.
appreciate you guys being here tonight. This is going to be awesome. We are pumped, and I want no what's the word I'm looking for? I'm missing the word. No pressure. No pressure, guys, but last month was our best one yet.
Oh
And
man,
I'm not
yeah.
saying that because it was on my channel. I'm saying it because you guys, which I'm guessing almost all of you were there, you guys killed it last month. It was phenomenal. I think we had maybe close to 200 people. I didn't count, but it was a lot. We got an outlaw with us. I'm not sure what to make of that, but that's okay. Welcome, outlaw.
And Kevin's here. All right, Kevin and Matt. What's up, Matt?
Kevin
And
says it's
Darren.
his finally made one. I'm taking it. That means he's the first. This is his first one, I'm guessing. So welcome, Kevin. I see your name all the time on Facebook and stuff. So glad you guys are here. Feel free to start Austin, Texas. Very nice. Very nice. Welcome,
Yeah,
Darren.
we're coast to coast over here. Hey, get these questions in. If you have some
Yep.
questions, let's get them in while we're welcoming people and catching up. We haven't really chatted. We had some technical difficulties and we made it
Just in
right
the nick
when
of
we were
time,
starting.
like
So
we
yeah,
always do. That's how
that's
we
right.
roll.
That just-in-time learning is beautiful.
No pressure. You have 1 minute until you go live. No
I
pressure.
know. Like, Dave's not showing up. Man, well, hey, listen, I am excited about talking laundromats. Real quick,
Mhm.
quick update. Oh no, Matt wants us to guess what his laundromat's going to be named.
All right, everybody jump in the comments section. Matt wants everybody to guess what he's going to name his laundromat. Matt, you got to give us some kind of a clue, dude. You can't just give us. How about I've got it. How about whatever street, Coin Laundry,
I like
Smith
to think
Street,
it's Soapy Senorita because that's the one I wanted to go with, and
Soapy
somebody needs to
Senorita?
take it. Yeah,
That would have probably worked pretty well in your market, wouldn't it?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I would
so.
think so.
Or it would be offensive. I'm not sure. Could go either way, maybe. Uh,
That's yeah. That would is that man? Everything's offensive. I can't do this. I can't do this offensive stuff.
yeah,
Everything's offensive.
everything is offensive. Hey, I have real quick before we jump into questions. Speaking of which,
Mhm.
hey guys, I mean this will be a lot more fun if we don't have to just listen to Dave drone on and on for like an hour and a
I
half.
will. If you
The
make me,
best
I'll
way
do
to
it.
do that is to give me ammo to interrupt him with in the form of questions. So,
That's right.
I'm just
That's
kidding, but
right.
hey, get those questions in. I'm going to be writing them down as we go along, and we'll be tackling them as we go. But real quick, while questions are rolling in and people are ooh, laundromat.
Laundromat.
I like
Nice.
that. That's what I love that.
Yes, that's
Uh,
good.
very good.
That is
Dude,
clever.
today is
Ends
an
with Matt.
exciting day over here. I've
Why is
got
that?
finally, after like a year, I have got some equipment that I've ordered that has come in. So very,
Did you
very
when did you
excited.
did you order it 3 years ago and it finally came in?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I have a lot of consulting clients that are like, should I retool right away or should I do it in like 6 months? And I'm like, well, I guess you should do it
Yes.
now so you can retool in 6 months.
If you're lucky. If you're lucky.
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to is like, yeah, they say 6 months and then that's gonna turn into a year. And I had wait, I don't know, maybe it was last month on the YouTube. Somebody had told me that I think it was on there, maybe it was on Facebook. Somebody had said something about they were stopped, they weren't even taking orders for the touch stuff now. Like they just if
Yeah.
you can't put in an order, you can order other stuff because they don't
I
know when it's
heard
gonna be
that.
available.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
there's a
remember where I
chip
saw that.
shortage.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
Matt's Matt is one of the votes.
Yeah. Oh,
Matt's Matt.
yeah.
That's
Maybe
pretty clever.
that is pretty good. Oh, I'm missing stuff over here. Okay, let me run back up. All right, guys. Well, hey, this is a Q&A. We are here just to let you know who we are. I'm Jordan with Laundromat Resource.
The
This
Jordan
is
Berry. The Jordan Berry.
What's up, guys? I'm pumped you're here. It's funny. I'll answer the phone that way sometimes, and people will be like, "Wow, that's crazy! Can't believe that I'm talking to you live." I'm like, "What's up, guys?" And the Laundromat Millionaire, Dave Menz.
The one and only person, the only one and only person bold enough to call himself the Laundromat Millionaire. And get away with it. Not that I get away with it, but anyway.
Yeah. Hey, man.
We are pumped. We are pumped. You guys are here, and we are getting the questions rolling in. George, Lisa, welcome. I tell you what, we're already getting pretty good participation. This is good stuff. Good stuff,
yeah.
man.
And hey, we're going to start tackling questions right now. But while you're bringing questions in, while you're listening to Dave ramble on and on, instead of nodding off and ignoring him,
don't do that.
Make sure you're jumping in the chats. Having conversations with each other too. I mean, probably, let's be honest, more than half of the benefit of these things is that you guys can help answer each other's questions and also just kind of get networking, getting to know each other. So make sure you're doing that in the comment section over there, and also, Dave and maybe a little bit of me will be, offering some stuff along the way. So
since it's Jordan's channel, I'll give him 10 minutes this month. 10 minutes.
That's
more than last month.
10 times. 10 times when I get one on your channel. All right, so let's start. Yeah, let's start with this one. It's come in a couple times. Let's just start with this one. How do you make sure you don't get ripped off when you buy a laundromat? I mean, listen, that is a big question because number one, I shared my story and I feel like I kind of got ripped off, and I take responsibility for that. But a big part of why I do what I do, I know a part of why you do what you do is because we've learned some very valuable and very expensive lessons along the way. We want to make sure other people don't have to learn them the way that we learn them. And man, I mean, getting ripped off is scary, and a lot of people are putting a lot of their hard-earned money into these things. They're not cheap. Even the cheap ones, quote unquote, are not cheap. And man, I don't know. You got any tips on how to not get ripped off as I catch up with the questions here?
Well, to be honest with you, the fact that you're asking that question is I'm optimistic for you, because that insinuates that you are aware you could get ripped off. Because I think a lot of people enter this industry, and it's I'm not picking on them. I mean, but they enter this industry very haphazardly. Because I always say, 75% of the information out there on laundromats, the free information especially, is pretty much complete garbage. And so the good news is that means 25% of the information out there is pretty solid. So what I tell people is if you stick to these three platforms, meaning the Laundromat Millionaire, Laundromat Resource, and the CLA, you're going to get pretty solid information. Does that mean everything any guest on my podcast says is golden and accurate? Well, no, of course not. Our podcast guests have their own opinions. But we like to believe, me and Jordan and the CLA, we try to do a pretty good job of putting out solid information that's credible and reputable. And so that's a good place to start. There's a million things I could go into. I always point out the book that the CLA sells, which is they changed the name of it. I think it's just Today's Laundromat. It's on the CLA store. It's a great resource that I bought 12 years ago now, and it's phenomenal. Jordan has all kinds of templates on his website. He has a forum on there where you can connect with people, laundromatresource.com. Jordan's pushing 100 episodes on the podcast there. I think he's over 70, if I remember right.
71.
Yeah, I tell people when it comes to free content, start with number one and just start rolling.
He only says that because he's number two, though.
Well, yeah, so. I'm not going to tell him to start at 70. It'll take forever to get to my episode, and then I won't get to review. After you listen to number one, there's some guy rambling on number one. Once you get through number one on the Laundromat Resource podcast, number two is my favorite episode. I recommend listening to it a few times. But that's a good starting point. But the reality is, you can never stop learning. We can never stop learning because the industry is always changing. So I think that's a really good starting point. The last thing I'll say too is just take your time. And I know this is kind of like a common sense answer. Take your time. It's kind of becoming sort of a coin phrase in the industry nowadays, but spend a few $1,000s on your education before you spend a few $100,000. I've had clients come to me, and I know Jordan has too. I've had coaching clients come to me that have, basically just lost $400,000. I had somebody a while back that contacted me about coaching. They had bought a $650,000 laundromat, but it was probably worth proper valuation 200,000, 250,000. And if he had called me 6 weeks earlier, he had closed 5 weeks before that. If he had closed 6 weeks or called me 6 weeks earlier, he would have saved $400,000. So I'm not here to, promote my coaching services or anything like that, which are actually, that's a different conversation, but actually I'm packed right now. So I'm not taking any new clients. So you're going to have to call Jordan. But those are some good places to start. Find a good mentor. If you can find a rock star distributor, find them, work with them, utilize their resources, their energy. There's a lot of good information out there, but you do have to separate the wheat from the chaff on the internet, because free, a lot of times that's not good information. What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, hey, number one, not to just promote my own stuff, but tomorrow I'm doing a free live webinar on how to analyze a laundromat deal. And it's like,
there you go.
Hey. Drinking through a fire hose. It's a lot of good information. And I don't say that because I'm given the information. I'm trying to toot my own horn. I'm saying that because I've been doing free coaching calls and free live webinars for a couple of years now, and I've been taking notes on questions people have, and I'm answering those questions in that webinar. So, man, that's a great place to start. And I think being involved in a community of other owners, other people who have experience in this is another huge thing that I was missing when I bought my first laundromat, and it ended up costing me tens of thousands of dollars, but can be a huge resource for you. And there's a lot of great places to do that now, like the Laundromat Resource Forums, like Laundromat Millionaire Facebook group. There's some other Facebook groups out there that are pretty good. And, start getting to know people. And, when you have questions that pop up and you need some timely answers, again, you have to, use a little discernment, when taking advice from strangers on the internet, but you can use that discernment and, verify that with other people and what you're learning. And man, that's a good place to start in terms of, not getting ripped off. And I would say too, hey, go with a consultant if you can do it. A consultant is somebody who's third party and somebody who can give you an unbiased opinion. I just talked one of my clients out of buying a deal because we found out that a brand new mega nice laundromat was opening up less than 3/4 of a mile away in San Jose. And they ended up walking from that deal. But the broker didn't even mention that because the broker only gets paid, when the deal goes through.
How did they find that? How'd they find that out?
Just
word of mouth?
Driving up and down the streets.
Oh, you're just driving up and down. You look and you're like, oh, they're building a laundromat.
Yeah, I had a client. I always say, hey, go check the county.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
For if permits were pulled for a new laundromat build, and just make a grid on a map and drive up and down every single street and go check any construction that's going on, any vacant commercial spaces, and just do a visual check, because they were going to buy an $850,000 laundromat that was immediately going to be worth probably less than $400,000 after, as soon as that other one opened. So dodged a big bullet there, but having a consultant, even if you have to pay them a little bit, can save you a lot of money. So
the likelihood, if you pay, let's say hypothetically, you pay a consultant $10,000 over the course of 12 months, you're going to get that money back in those 12 months if you buy a laundromat. I mean, I tell people all the time. I mean, in the laundromat industry, it's so capital intensive. I mean, we can roll out of bed and burn $50,000 without even trying. Even if you kind of know what you're doing. I know people that know what they're doing a little bit and have been in the industry a year or two, and they still, buy that $300,000 laundromat for $400,000, thinking that they know what they're doing because they've been in the business for a year or two. Well, maybe you bought the first one right, just by mistake. So, like I said, it goes back to spend a few $1,000s on your education, or in this case, a mentor or a coach, before you spend a few $100,000 or more. I'm a big fan of diligence, so I'm a big fan of being proactive rather than reactive. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a huge point, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes to see the value in that. Like, I have another client of mine who, we found out during due diligence that there was a $700 a month sewer bill that the owner wasn't trying to hide, but didn't even know about. The sewer bill went to the landlord, and the landlord never passed it on, and we found out about it. And our offer went down from $235,000 to $170,000 because of that. And it's, a tough break for the owners, but put yourself in the buyer's shoes. If they had bought that laundromat without doing the due diligence and finding out about the sewer bill, then, I mean, that's a lot of, like you said, you can lose 50 grand, like nothing, and that would have been 50 grand down for them in that scenario. So,
I know it's easy. It's easy for me to say because I remember a time when 10 grand was a ton of money to me, and don't get me wrong, it still is. But it's easy for me to say spend 10 grand. But I tell you what, wouldn't you rather spend 10 grand and just have the peace of mind that that you're getting in the business the right way? Once again, this is a hypothetical number; it's a random number. But wouldn't you rather spend $10,000 and be like, you know what, I'm working with a professional. Let's assume you hire a good coach because there's bad ones out there, or consultant. But wouldn't you rather spend 10 grand and be like, you know what, I'm going to closing 100%, as close to 100% as we can be, confident that I'm buying the right location. I've done my homework. I mean, this business isn't rocket science. So if you find somebody that knows what they're doing, I mean, the industry doesn't change quickly. It does change, but it doesn't change quickly. And so if you find somebody that knows a little something about the business, then that's going to be, even if you would have done it either way, I'd still rather spend the $10,000 and have that peace of mind. But that's just me. And there was a time where I didn't have that 10 grand. So I understand that too. And I'm not trying to make light of that because a lot of people are in that situation. And even going back to that, if I had that to do over again, because I had a great mentor, if you don't have the 10 grand, you're probably in less of a situation to take that risk, to be honest with you, than somebody that 10 grand really isn't that much money to. So I don't know if that answers your question. There's really not an answer to your question. There's a whole bunch of answers. Proceed with caution, find a good mentor, get in some good networking groups, and if you can, get yourself a coach.
Yeah. Awesome answer to that question. I mean, I think there was a lot of really good stuff in there for anybody who's looking to buy their first laundromat. Did we, I'm still trying to catch up here. Did we ever find out what Matt's laundromat, is it going to be Laundromat?
I don't know. Hi, Jason. Jason Dodge joined us. Welcome, bud.
Hey, Jason. All right.
Let's see. Matt, if you did tell the name, and if it was Matt's Matt, then
I like it.
He says I like Matt's Matt too. So maybe he's not so sold on his own.
Might be Laundromat. I don't know.
Kevin Cook says 0 experience here, reading and listening. Good for you. That is a great place to start. Just consume. If you have a good head on your shoulders, which I'm sure you do if you're here, consume enough information, you're going to hear all the commonalities in the industry. If you just talk to 5 people, I mean, you're going to get 5 probably different opinions because not everybody knows this business as well as they think they do. And I'll just leave it at that. But consume, and eventually you're going to see a lot of commonalities in the information you're consuming. And that's when your education starts to rise. And that's when the red flags are going to start to kind of jump out at you like, this doesn't make sense. So I don't know if that helps. Matt, if you do have a name, let us know what it is, my friend. Everybody's dying. You're the talk of the show.
That's right. All right. So, nice. A lot of all right, Andrew Cunningham. All right. Hey, Andrew Cunningham and I are doing a webinar in a few weeks. You can check it out at laundromatresource.com/events. which will be really good. So, okay. So, we got how not to get ripped off. Hey, first of all, there's quite a few people in here who are opening their first mat. I saw that Kevin has a new build out that is opening this week. That's huge. Congratulations to Kevin. That's a really big deal. Those build outs can take a long time, and it's very financially and emotionally draining to go through a build out. So huge celebration. But let me just encourage you, Kevin, that the work is not over when you open the doors. That's when the work just starts. So don't let off the pedal right off the bat. You got to get those people in there, and you got to get them to develop the habit of coming to your laundromat. That's what it's all about, right? So building out a laundromat, awesome first step. It feels like a huge first step because it's like a monumental effort to get there, but don't let off the pedal. I just wanted to give you a little, pump talk on that because, man, I know it can be emotionally and financially draining to get to that point, but keep going, man. Keep going.
Opening the doors on a retool, a remodel, a new build. That's not the finish line, folks. That's a starting line. And that's not really information that, it's not something everyone wants to hear. It's not fun to hear it necessarily because you're pretty exhausted a lot of times by the time you get to that point, but you got to push forward. That's when the fun begins. And my mentor told me that early on. I left the closing to buy my first store, which wasn't a build, but it was run down. I left the closing and I called him. I said, it's official. I own the store. I'll meet you there. We had already made arrangements for him to meet me there the day of. And he said, I'll see you in a little bit. He walked in the door, shook my hand, said, congratulations, and said, be under no illusion that you've done anything. Now is time to work. And I had worked. I worked hard to get that thing across the finish line. And it was a little bit demoralizing, but it was also kind of a pump talk that I needed because I was exhausted. So that's a great point for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about Andrew Cunningham in here, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I've never met Andrew personally, but I know he's been on a couple of your podcasts, at least two, that I know of for sure. So guys, a lot of talk about Andrew. I know Jordan has great things to say about him. I've watched the podcast, clearly knows the industry, been in the industry a long time. So if you're just wanting to learn more about the industry, go check out those podcasts. He gives a lot of good information in those podcasts. And then if he is someone that you want to contact about consulting, I guess he does that kind of stuff. So a little bit of buzz for Andrew there.
Yeah, and his contact information is on the show notes page of those laundromats or on the.
Does he have a website, like a consulting website, or?
He does. I want to say it's laundromats-unfiltered.com. I'll put that in the chat actually. That way you guys can.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'm going to jump at one that somebody addressed to me. I'm not finding it, but I know it's here somewhere. They, oh, there it is. Mike posted it. He said, Dave, now that you have had ozone in your store for a while and your customers are on board, if you had to update your water heater, would you downsize it? Mike, I'm probably the best person to ask about that because I'm a big fan of the macro rather than the micro. Not that the micro isn't important, but I don't get too worked up over, whether I heat a few extra gallons of water every day or something like that. I tend to spend, I believe we all have kind of limited mental capacity. And so I tend to spend my time on the bigger things. That being said, if I were replacing the water heater anyways, would I do the calculations to see if I can get away with something smaller? I would. But that being said, just from personal observation, having ozone in your store is definitely a great thing to have from a marketing standpoint. It definitely does a great job of cleaning the clothes and things like that. But you're really fighting an uphill battle if the singular reason you're putting ozone in is to reduce your water heater or your water heater usage. Is it going to happen naturally a little bit? Yeah. But you could sit there and spend a half an hour talking to every customer about ozone and explaining how great it is and why they don't need to use hot water. They need to go use cold water. And you're still not going to convince a good portion of your clientele. So I'm not sure that I would do that. If I had a 2 or 3 year track record and put in ozone 2 or 3 years ago and happen to need to replace my water heater now, would I look at that consumption rate and say, is there a drastic difference? Can I get away with something smaller? Yeah, but I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on it. That's just my personal philosophy on business. But it is, I mean, I don't mean to make light of it because it is true that having ozone actually cleans your clothes better in cold water than in hot water. The problem is you're not going to convince your customers of that. So it's kind of an uphill battle. So take it for what it's worth. It is one of the benefits of having ozone, but I don't know that it's something that really worth getting too worked up over. At least my opinion. Now, that in other markets that are a little bit more sensitive to gas usage and environmental things, maybe it's a bigger issue there. Would you have any comments on that, like in your market, Jordan? Or
no, I mean, I think you're right. I don't know that you're gonna save enough to go downsize. The cost of just downsizing in general. Yeah, I mean, they're just numbers though, so you should be able to figure that out, and figure out how much of the hot water it's going to save you, and do the math. But if I was just going to go with kind of gut feeling, I mean, I think even being a little more environmental, if that's your main shtick for your laundromat, then maybe yes. But yeah, I don't think it's enough to go about doing a downsizing there. Okay, so somebody was asking too about you. When are you doing your next update for your build? I'm curious about that too.
If that's not Charles Measley, then I'm going to be surprised. But it doesn't say his name. He's a friend of mine. He's been sending me text messages. Yeah, I'm going to actually do something probably this week. I don't know if it'll be out this week, the video. And I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. The reason why we haven't is because while we've been making a lot of progress, it's not a lot of visual progress.
Mm-hmm.
And if you built a laundromat, you know what I'm talking about. The last 4 to 6 weeks has been a lot of engineering documents and applying for permits, and they're dragging their toes a little bit on that, and some architecture work. And a lot of this was done beforehand, but we didn't do 100% of it because the couple weeks before we closed on this property, there was a chance that it was going to fall through.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of just pushed pause. I was like, well, maybe I just won't do anything until it actually closes. And it closed, put us a few weeks behind, which is not the end of the world. That being said, we actually had the parking lot, this is just for those of you that don't know, I'm building a new laundromat, but the building is existing. It's a former laundromat. We gutted it down to the studs, and we're basically building a brand new laundromat. But the parking lot was in terrible shape. We've painted the building. We actually had the parking lot resealed and striped today. We've got about probably 60% of our equipment has been delivered. It's not been installed, but it's been delivered. Our bulkheads from Highmark have been delivered. Our drain troughs from HM Company, draintroughs.com, have been delivered. So we're making a lot of progress, but when you like walk in the building and look at it, there's not a ton to look at. So I kind of felt like it would be sort of a lame video if I did one.
But you striped the parking lot, right? Like, what's more exciting than that?
Right. Well,
Watching
the funny thing is I drove by today and I was like, holy, because it looked bad before. It's an asphalt parking lot, and they hadn't done any maintenance, no sealing, no striping, not even cleaning out the weeds from the cracks, nothing in probably 25 years. And so it was rough. And I mean, it looks, as far as a parking lot can look, it looks amazing. So anyway, so yes, I will be doing a video shortly, and there will be quite a bit of stuff to cover. But when you look in the inside of the building, it doesn't look drastically different than it did 5 or 6 weeks ago. So, but thanks for following along, because the good news is now that we're kind of seeing the finish line and getting the zoning people out of our way and stuff, all my contractors and me, I mean, we're chomping at the bit. So I'm going to have some really cool videos on a probably weekly basis where we're just really hammering it. So we're hoping to be open sometime in mid-November. So we'll see if we'll see if that happens.
6 weeks or so.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll see. But thanks for asking, and I appreciate you following along. For sure.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Doing house remodel and stuff. My wife was kind of following along on Instagram, posting stuff, and then it was just like nothing was being posted. People were like, "What happened?" And she's like, "Well, they're like wiring stuff and running plumbing, and you can't really even tell anything's different. This is like construction side stuff." Yeah. Okay. So somebody asked, how much capital does it take to start? How much should you have? in order to start in the laundromat business?
Doesn't take any capital. It's free, guys. Free. It's free. You don't need any money. It's totally free.
Cool. All right. Well, the next question.
Next question. The answer is it depends. I'm sorry.
It depends.
I'm sorry to say that, but you can get into the industry. Jordan has a couple great videos. I don't think they're podcasts. I think they're just videos of him, but they're on his podcast, or maybe they're just on his YouTube channel. He has a couple good videos on kind of getting into the industry on the lower end of things as far as capital. So, I mean, I'm an example of someone that got into the industry. I had $30,000 in cash, and it had taken me 5 years to save that up to get into the business. And I bought a really dumpy laundromat for like 85 grand and borrowed 70 of it. Put 15 down and then put the other 15 in improvements to the store and leverage myself to the hilt. So that's my story. So the answer is you can get into the industry pretty inexpensively, but you're really buying a project. You're buying something that's going to have, it's going to have a lot of deferred maintenance. It could possibly be losing money, which mine was when I bought it, my first one. And so you can get into the lower end of the industry. Just be prepared to either borrow a lot of money, spend a lot of your own money, or put a lot of sweat equity in, and likely all three of those things, because this is a capital intensive business. And then on the higher side of the business, I mean, there's $2-3 million laundromats out there. So if you figure a 30 to 40% down in the total project, if you're a newbie, which is pretty common, especially 30. Then do the math, on $1 million, you're looking at $300,000 to $400,000. On $2 million, you're looking at double that. So that's on the higher end. And that's when you're kind of building sort of the Taj Mahal of laundromats. But it feels a little bit like a cop out to say that, but the range is really that wide. It's really just a matter of your market, finding the right opportunities, doing your homework, things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the biggest, it depends in the world, and it really depends on how you get into the business. And, to a degree, I think you're right. There's all of those things. You're going to be spending a lot of money and a lot of sweat equity and all that stuff, depending on how you get in. But I found that there's kind of this inverse relationship with how much money you have versus how much time and sweat equity you need to put in, right? So if you have,
definitely.
If you're a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills and you have a bunch of money, you're just trying to put it into a business, to get some cash flow on it, and you don't really even need it to make you a ton of money, well, you can buy that $1 million laundromat, and it's gonna be probably relatively turnkey, and it's probably gonna have relatively new equipment, so it's gonna be relatively low maintenance. There will still be things you need to put in, so there still is some kind of time commitment there, but relatively little. But if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you don't have very much money, then you just need to anticipate you're going to be putting more time and more of your own sweat equity into that business to get it going. And I think you're a perfect example of that, where you had 30, let's just say it first, $30,000 is still a lot of money, right?
Sure.
But you scrounged up $30,000, which is relatively little amount of money. And you talk about it all the time. You went before work, you worked your 9 to 5 job, and then you went, and sometimes longer, and then you went after work, and you did that for years, not like
4 years.
I did that
90 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah,
for 5 years, 4 years, 5 years.
A little bit of money, a lot of sweat equity, and now probably knowing what you know now, there may be some ways where you could have shortened that timeline. Some of the stuff and that's kind of what we're talking about with the, consultant or mentor track too, collapsing timelines and reaching levels of success that you're trying to get to much quicker. But if you just want to go at your own, just know there's an inverse relationship. If you're planning on, leaving the rat race, leaving the 9 to 5, but you really don't have any money right now, that's fine. You can do that. And laundromats are a vehicle where you can do that. You just need to know you're going to have to work a lot harder than other people who have more money on the front end to get to that point. And it might take a little bit longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think most of these conversations are either or propositions. So like in my example, I hate fixing things. Like I knew I could, but I didn't want to learn how to fix my own equipment. I wanted to be in a financial position where I didn't ever need to. I could always afford to pay someone to fix my equipment. So I would rather stay at my job that I didn't hate. I didn't love, but I didn't hate. I'd rather stay at my job an extra year, 18 months, build up some more cash, increase revenue a little bit more, have a little bit healthier business. And so it was an either or proposition. Could I have left my job earlier and taken money out of the business? I could have, but it would have required me to work in my business, which I didn't want to do. Now, there's many, many people. I mean, I was already doing it, but I didn't want to do it any more than I already was. I liked my job, but there's many people that don't have another job, or maybe they got laid off, and so they need to work in their business. And so every situation is unique and different. How you get there is really just determined by numbers. And I mean, a perfect example too is if I was a single guy who was 22 and living with 6 roommates and my rent was $100 a month because we divided it 6 ways, I wouldn't have needed much to live on. But I was married and I had a family of 3. I had a newborn at home when I bought my first laundromat, and a toddler and a 10-year-old. And so, we did cut our living expenses a little bit to help out, but we weren't willing to just sell everything and live in a box. We had a lifestyle that we were trying to maintain. We didn't need to grow it, but we were trying to maintain it. And so that's part of the factors. It's part of the it depends is how much are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to do? How long are you willing to do it? You said it a minute ago. I think it was with the water heater comment. It's just math. Well, I mean, business is just math. Even your personal expenses is just math. And you can manipulate those things on both ends of the spectrum. It's just a matter of do you want to work more or sacrifice less? Do you want to sacrifice more or work less? That there is no right answer. The answer is it depends, and that's why we keep going back to that. But yeah, we're getting some awesome comments. Hey, Joe Dan, good to see you, buddy.
I know,
Appreciate
Joe
you joining
Dan.
us this month. He hasn't been with us for a while.
I know. It's awesome.
Yeah, Jason Dodge says, and I'm going to take a little liberty here. I know Jason recently built a laundromat. That's a beautiful laundromat. And he mentions credit cards, 401k, owner financing, line of credit on the house. I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe you do. I think you're a little closer with Jason than I am. I'm guessing that he's saying he did all of those things
he did.
to get his new store open.
Yeah,
and that's not uncommon.
Yeah, if you're interested in how to get into a business when you're in a tight situation, you need to go listen to Jason's episode on the podcast. I can't remember off the top of my head what number it is. I don't know, Jason, if you remember, but man, his episode is awesome. And he made it happen. That's like the epitome of making it happen. So yeah, really, really good.
Here's one for you, Jordan.
Yeah.
Stacy Renofola says, are you guys finding that the sales price on mats are inflated right now to go along with the longer order times and increased prices on new equipment?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I'm doing so many, like too many consulting calls right now, every single week. And I'm looking at all over the country, urban areas, suburban areas, rural areas, East Coast, West Coast, Best Coast, middle where nobody really pays any attention to,
Midwest where nobody lives.
Yeah. But man, everywhere I'm seeing inflated prices. And I think a big part of the reason, a couple of things. Number one is, when people looked around during COVID, business closed, laundromat open, intriguing. So I think that's a big part of it. I think genuinely, and I'm not just saying this, but genuinely, I think, having people like Dave, who's giving a lot of exposure to our industry outside of our industry, is piquing a lot of interest. I know he went on the Bigger Pockets Business podcast, which is a big deal. That was a little while ago. It's now defunct, and I can't help but wonder if there's some, relationship there of why it's not going anymore.
Me and you launched our podcasts, and then they went under. That's what happened.
That might be.
The timeline is right, Jordan. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it was that, or maybe you just,
I broke them. I broke them. They can't. My numbers just went through the roof.
Cannot handle you. Yeah. But I do think that's part of it too, and I also think there's just a lack of inventory for whatever reason. I don't know if people are just not wanting to sell. A lot of people took a little bit of a hit during COVID in terms of numbers, and so not wanting to sell with those lower numbers. And so they're hanging on longer, or I'm not sure what the deal is, but there just has not been a lot on the market. So Definitely seeing
you said
inflated prices.
you said it's all over the country, so you're not just talking about LA. What are you seeing? Are you seeing instead of a 3 to 5x, you're seeing 4 to 7x, or what are you? I mean, that people are asking. I'm not saying they're getting it, but
yeah, no, I mean, I'm seeing asking prices, maybe even like 4.5 to 6.5 is what I'm seeing asking
kind of
price.
what I've seen. Yep.
And depending on who's asking, there's some particular brokers or people who are always at the higher end of that, which is fine. And I tell people all the time, hey, I literally, I'm going to do this webinar tomorrow. During the analysis webinar I'm doing tomorrow, free live webinar, I will say you can ignore the asking price. Just ignore it. It's irrelevant. It means absolutely nothing. And usually it's just a negotiation technique, right? So whatever that asking price multiple is, the real question is, what returns are you willing to live with, right? And if you're willing to live with the returns you can get at a 6 times multiplier, then you can pay a 6 times multiplier. If you need 20% return on your money, then you can't go higher than a 5 times multiplier. That's just what it is, and you just have to find a deal that's going to fit that. So, but yeah, I'm seeing 4.5 to 6.5. Most of it, even like older machines and all that, will be in that 4.5 to.
Do you know if they're getting that?
Usually, well, it depends. And I mean, kind of going back to,
you stole my answer.
Yeah, always it depends. But I mean, going back to, do you have somebody helping you out who knows something about the business? And if you're going at it a lot, I see this a lot where people, just, and I'm not blaming anybody because I did exactly this. But when you just kind of go along with what the broker says, you're going to pay top dollar 9 times out of 10. Unless you happen to get a good broker who has a bigger, longer term vision of your relationship with them. That's really what you want to look for. But yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some people paying, upwards of that. And, hey, if you can sell your laundromat for that, more power to you.
I tell people, when the environment we're in right now, and we don't know if it'll last forever, but I think COVID definitely impacted it. And I think people like me and you, not just me and you, but people like me and you, bringing a visibility to the industry of how great of a business this can be if done the right way. I think that increases the value of our businesses. And so I do think there's a correlation there. I'm not giving any one person credit. I'm just saying that the information as a whole, or the industry as a whole, we're sharing information more. And I'd like to think that you and I, or at least, in fact, I know we're a little bit of a part of that. And so I'm not gonna shy away from that. And us trying to encourage networking in the chats, networking on Facebook groups, on the Laundromat Resource Forum, just Jordan having laundromatresource.com website that didn't exist a couple years ago. Him doing free webinars. People's education level is increasing. I'm not saying everyone's is, but the awareness to the industry is increasing. And so those all factor in. If you're looking to buy a laundromat, you might have to pay a little bit more for it and take a little bit less of an ROI on your investment. But the good news is, I still think it's good for the industry, for us to be collectively as an industry be elevating our industry. I don't think we can lose in that scenario.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot of questions coming in. So we talked about that. It depends. We talked about that. It depends. Oh, somebody had asked, is it better to buy an existing laundromat and either run it or retool it or whatever, or to partner with Speed Queen and go that route? You got anything to say about that?
I don't want to speak specifically to Speed Queen because I don't pretend to be a Speed Queen franchise expert. But there's like 9 or 10 franchises out there nowadays. I'm guessing that's what they're asking is about the franchise. My opinion of it is there's nothing wrong with a franchise. I think franchise models in business across all industries are a good thing in a lot of cases. My personal opinion, knowing what I know now about the industry and the people in the industry, and the elevation of knowledge and let's call it business acumen among us laundromat owners, and how it's increasing. I think that the value, I always go to value. You know me, I always go to value. And the reality is that I just don't see it. I actually just did a podcast the other day. I think it was number 19. And it was Brian Reisland, and he is a former Microsoft exec. If you're not aware, I have a podcast, Laundromat Millionaire Show. It's on all the podcasting platforms. It's on C-Suite TV. It's on my YouTube channel. You can check out those podcasts in video form. Go check out, I think it's episode 19, but just look for Brian Reisland. He's a former Microsoft exec that got in the laundromat industry. And we talked for quite a while about him researching the industry, and he was really close to going with a franchise. And then he started to figure out the numbers and the franchise fee and the royalties in perpetuity and things like that. And he started to realize, well, geez, over a 10-year period of time, if I achieve my goals in this business, I'm going to pay them $1 million. And he said, okay, in those 10 years, are they going to give me $1 million, or in this case, more you would need in value? And the answer was it wasn't even close. And this is his answer, not mine. So this is someone that went pretty deep and heavy-headed down to the industry. And he looked into the franchising, and he said it wasn't for him. That being said, there's nothing wrong with a franchise. He's a sharp guy. He has a lot of business experience, creating operational processes and procedures. He didn't feel was quite as valuable to him because that's something he has a business acumen for. But if that's something you would really struggle with, then you might get a lot more value out of that business in a box type of mentality. So I'm not here to say anything bad about any franchises, Speed Queen or otherwise. All I tell people is just look at the numbers, just like Brian did. Make your own decision for yourself. I think in some cases, franchises make sense. In my opinion, in most cases in this industry, I can't imagine that they would make much sense. Just my 2 cents worth knowing what I know about the industry. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know if we have enough time to go into it, but I mean, I think you're right. I think
your time's up. Sorry.
Okay. So the next question. No, I mean, the only scenario that I can think of where I would say, okay, do the franchise model is if it's the only way you feel like you can make yourself take the first step. If you are like overcome with fear or anxiety about buying your first laundromat and you feel like you need some kind of safety net, even though it's not really a safety net, but you know, if you feel like it's going to help you take the action that you need to take to get your foot in the game, that's the only scenario that I can see having a franchise maybe be worth it. You know, in terms of the Speed Queen in particular, I mean, Joe Dan Reed said, I have a Hitch store, and Speed Queen distributor opened the Speed Queen and Hitch for both Alliance, opened a store a mile away, and we're starting to see more and more of that. And you know, I personally have some concerns with Alliance and their business model and what they're doing in our industry right now. I have an episode about that on the podcast. You can go check that out if you're interested in my opinions on that. So yeah, I would say, hey, you know what? I don't know where the value is either, other than if you're too scared to do it on your own and you can't do it with a consultant, you can't do it with a team of people around you. Okay, like if that's the only way you're going to take some action, go that route. If not, I don't really see the value in it either.
$1 million. $1 million. That's a lot of value. It's a lot of value somebody's going to have to bring. I mean, we just talked about $10K for a pretty good mentor, right? And once again, I'm using an arbitrary number, but let's multiply that by 5K, or I mean 50K. In Brian's case, and he wasn't Speed Queen, but I'm not going to get into it. But the franchise that he was talking to, I'm guessing he talked to more than one, but the franchise fee was the fee alone just to get started was 50K.
To get on the wait list.
To 50K just to get on the list. That's right. Then the rest of the 950 was going to be what he would pay in royalties and things like that. So once again, you can probably hire yourself 2 or 3 rock star coaches and mentors in the industry and take your time for 5 or 6 months. And I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. Like, I think you're going to be way ahead of the game. But just the important thing to know is regardless of what route you go, take your time. Take your time, work on your education, because It's amazing what you can learn. This business is not that complicated. It's not easy, but it is simple. And if you just take your time and work with people and really network hard and get involved in groups like this and take advantage of resources like the Laundromat Resource Podcast and things like that, you'd be amazed what you can learn in 6 months without spending very little money. But if you're willing to spend 10, 15, $20,000, I mean, you're going to be really far ahead of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing all of that. I mean, I think I get that question all the time. So, I mean, I think that's a great primer for anybody kind of thinking through that and where that might be worth it. There may be other scenarios that I'm not aware of where it's worth it, but I just, I don't know. Okay. So somebody was asking about doing pickup and delivery, and they want to offer dry cleaning, but they don't want to actually own a dry cleaners. And so what, do you have any advice for somebody wanting to offer dry cleaning, pickup and delivery? How do you partner with the dry cleaner? Is there an arrangement you need to have? Do you need to have a contract? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I do that personally. I've been doing that for about 3 years. And once again, not rocket science, but the key to the whole thing is having the right partner. Just like people that trash partnerships and say they're terrible. Well, they probably had the wrong partner. I know people that, and I'm not a partnership guy myself, but I know people that get in partnerships with the right partners and they love it. They love everything about it because they can leverage and scale themselves in their partnership. So there's good and bad in everything. But yeah, I think it all comes down to, what you're going to do is you're going to find a local or a local dry cleaner, first of all, that's willing to wholesale, because a lot of them are not. A lot of them want that full retail margin. And they think that if they do wholesale work for you, that they're now doing wholesale work rather than retail, because they think that you're taking money out of their pocket. That's business that maybe not would have, but could have went to them. So the first thing to understand, and every market's unique and different, but the first thing to understand is that a lot of dry cleaners aren't even interested in doing wholesale work. They want that full margin business. They want the retail business themselves. So that's the first key, is just finding somebody that will do wholesale work. The next one is finding someone that does it well, which is a very difficult thing to do. You find somebody that actually it's important to them, because if you take the first two things and you take them off the table and you find a dry cleaner that wants to do wholesale work and will do it, it's still going to be their least priority, meaning that they're going to rush. You're not going to get the quality. So it's a lot. It's real easy for somebody to jump on here and say, just find a local dry cleaner, wholesale it out to them, and don't do any of the work and collect all your profits. And in a perfect world, it would be that easy, but it's not. And the last thing I'll say is, if you find that person, you got to manage that relationship. You have to let them know that you appreciate that partnership. You have to let them know that the value they bring to your partnership is important to you. And it can be little things and big things, like taking them out to dinner and stopping by and seeing how they're doing, and things like that. But it's really all predicated on finding them. You ask about contracts. I don't have a contract. We have a pricing agreement, but we don't have a contract between me and the distributor, or between me and the dry cleaner. I'm sure most people do, but I found a perfect dry cleaner, and we have a relationship, an agreement, I would say, that works for us. And it's a perfect situation, and I'll share it. They do our wholesale work at 50% margins. And so I told them, I said, whatever your retail price is, because they also do retail work. I said, whatever your retail price is, I need your wholesale price to be half of that. And I'm going to charge the same retail prices as you. And my point within that was, I'm not going to beat you up on price. I want you to make money, but I'm also not going to undercut you. So if I can get, a perfect example in investing in that relationship is, we're in the same market. We're both in Cincinnati. And I do pickup and delivery. So we cover pretty much all of Cincinnati with pickup and delivery. And I could very easily say, well, they're doing it for 50%. I can mark it up 25% and still undercut them by 25%. Well, how long do you think that relationship's going to work out? So, I mean, you got to be a little bit smart about your partnerships, because if you build I don't know if substantial is the right word. Dry cleaning is kind of a dying industry, but if you build a substantial relationship with a wholesaler, knowing that the things I just talked about, how hard it is to find and build that relationship, and all of a sudden they drop you like a hot rock. What are you going to do? You don't have any dry cleaning equipment. So it's not easy to find, but when you do find it, treat them right, appreciate them for the value they bring to you. And it can be a great thing. It's been fantastic for me. In fact, I don't remember what episode but if you go to the Laundromat Millionaire Show, which is my podcast, I did an episode with my dry cleaner, which they wholesale to us, and we talk about our relationship. I think the episode is called Thriving in Dry Cleaning, is like the tagline. But if you just go look up the Laundromat Millionaire Show on any podcast platform or on my YouTube channel, you can find that episode there. And we talk about our wholesale relationship a decent amount. What do you have any thoughts on that? I know you don't do dry cleaning, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Have you interviewed anyone on the podcast that does it well and got into that much, or not really?
No,
I can't think of any that you have.
No, I mean Kent Wales, but he does his own dry cleaning. So yeah, not really actually. I haven't really touched on it too much. But I mean, everything you're saying, I could not agree with more, which, is, do good business, right? And like don't beat people up and don't take advantage of them. Like if you're trying to, outsource dry cleaning, you need to be, don't be undercutting them. That relationship's not going to last. But on the flip side of that, you also need to make sure they're doing, they're representing your business. When you partner with somebody like that, they, the quality of their work is going to reflect on your business more than it reflects on their business, because the customer doesn't see your relationship with that dry cleaner. So yes, treat them correctly, but also hold them to a standard and make sure that they are delivering the, the value that you at the standard that you want to hold as part of your business. So it kind of goes both ways for that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
And that's episode 11 on the Laundromat Millionaire. I was looking that up real quick. Episode 11 on the Laundromat Millionaire.
The dry cleaning one. Yeah.
Yeah, the dry cleaning one.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, listen, man, if I can interrupt your program for a minute here, I have an announcement.
Is it okay
if I made an announcement on your channel, dude?
Yes.
Especially since it involves you, man.
Ooh.
So, guys, October 5th. Hopefully I got everyone's attention for a second here. A little intrigue. So October 5th, which is next Tuesday, my book comes out. It's the pre-sale, so it's a pre-order. This is not going to be on Amazon, and it's not going to be in bookstores yet. I'm only making this announcement to what I call my tribe. So we're not doing marketing yet for the book. The people that are hearing me now or will hear me in the future on my podcast, whatever, I wouldn't say it's a secret, because anybody can go buy the book starting October 5th. But it's a pre-sale. And so it's pre-launch, and you can buy my book, Laundromat Millionaire, which is my life story. And the reason that I wrote the book is I'm not trying to be a hero. What I'm trying to do. So what I mean by that is I'm not trying to brag. Instead of trying to be a hero through my book, what I'm trying to do is be a guide. So I'm trying to guide you. I want you to learn from my experiences, good, bad, and ugly. And I want you to get value. So we just talked about all the things that having a good mentor and coach. I had an amazing mentor. He was my equipment distributor, still is to this day. Steve Millman of HM Company. Phenomenal human being, one of my very good friends. And I talk about that relationship and the value, but I also talk about how I found him. And I talk about my journey we talked about the 4 to 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears, working 90 to 100 hours a week, how I turned 30K into multimillionaire status, and all the things in between. It's my life story. It's my journey. And so I'm excited to share that with you all. And the reason I am is because I know it will help you. If you're a veteran laundromat owner, I'm confident it will help you. If you're new to the industry, I'm confident it will help you. And that's really what I want to do, is just promote that message that me and Jordan are all about, which is just bettering the industry, sharing information, tips, tricks, and ideas with each other so that we all can be stronger. So I'm really excited. We're going to actually have a live stream at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. It's going to be on all of my channels. So you can go to my YouTube channel. You can go to my LinkedIn page. You can go to my Facebook page, any of those things. And the live stream will be happening on all those channels other than Instagram. And the coolest part is I have this super sweet guest that's joining me on the line stream because I'm not a real good looking guy, and I need some eye candy on there. So I'm having this guy from California, uh, Jordan Berry, if you ever heard of him.
I will be
He's gonna,
shirtless.
oh my goodness,
No.
it's gonna be gun show and everything.
Oh, too much candy. Got it. Okay.
But Jordan is going to be joining me, and part of the reason is just because Jordan is a great friend and a amazing friend and a supporter of mine, for sure, along this journey. And I'm honored to have him on there. But part of the reason that I'm going to have Jordan on the show, the live stream, for an hour, is because Jordan got an advanced manuscript. He got an advanced copy of my book. So Jordan has already read my book in full. And me and Jordan are going to be talking about the book and how he sees it and whether he feels that it will help other people. And Jordan is a veteran of the laundromat industry. He knows his stuff. And I'm hoping that maybe he picked up a few things from reading it. Now, he's heard me talk for, ad nauseum for over a year now. What do we got here? Oh, look at that. He's just showing off that he's
on my remarkable.
That's remarkable. But so anyways, we're going to pick Jordan's brain a little bit. And for those of you that love my amazing wife, Carla is going to be on the live stream with me and Jordan too. And she's a rock star in her own right. She has obviously read the book, but she's also lived the book with me because it's my life. So anyways, I'm honored to be able to tell you guys about that. I did make an announcement that we were going to have the pre-sale on October 5th a couple weeks ago on social media. But you are the first ones to know on this right now. You're the first ones to know about the live stream that Jordan will be joining me and that we'll be spending an hour kind of talking about the book, and Jordan and Carla have read it and talking about my journey. And then the last thing is, if you buy it that day on October 5th, we're going to have a bunch of bonuses. And so you're going to get a bunch of stuff for free. And if you buy the book, if you order the book on October 5th, which is next Tuesday, everyone that buys it that day gets an autographed copy of the book from me personally. And so I hope that you guys will, not only support me, but I really believe that it will help you all. And I would love it if you would tell other people about it, because this is kind of just an industry thing. It's eventually going to end up in bookstores and airports and stuff like that down the road. But I really want, I'm grateful to the industry for all their support to me over the years. And I want you all to kind of have that first crack at it. And so I appreciate you all. So I just wanted to make that announcement on here. So thanks for giving me a couple minutes there, Jordan.
Yeah. And it is awesome. I mean, I have read it. Looking forward to chatting with you about it. And that live stream is going to be a lot of fun, man. I think we're going to have a good time. I know this is kind of the, beginning of all of this hard work that you've been putting into this book, and not just the book, but your business and your life for the last 10 plus years. Mm-hmm. It's all kind of coming to fruition starting October 5th. And then, obviously as it continues to roll out. So super excited, super fun, super good book. You should definitely put it on your calendar to join that live stream, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Last thing I'm going to tease you guys with, in addition to the book, in addition to the freebies, the autographs, I'm going to make another announcement that has nothing to do with the book on the live stream with Jordan and with Carla. So if you want to find out what that is, you got to come check out the live stream. 1 p.m. Eastern time. What is that over there on the West Coast? 10 a.m. or something like that?
10 o'clock West Coast time.
I'm going to wake up Jordan a little bit early out there. And so if you want to know what that announcement is, you got to come check out the live stream, guys. So anyway, thanks, bud. Appreciate you giving me a second.
Yeah.
All right, let's help some more people before we run out of time here. We still got 25 minutes.
All right, good, because we got some more questions to get to. First of all, real quick, Eric, congrats. Just bought your second laundromat and dry cleaner. So, dude, celebrating with you right
Congratulations.
Now. Huge accomplishment. Ready to go. Love that. Can we talk? I mean, we've kind of already talked about this. Somebody was asking about the delays in production, and it just is what it is. I think I saw somebody say that Dexter's backed up till May right now, and that may turn into something later than May also as it kind of goes along. So if you're thinking about buying a laundromat that needs to be retooled, talk to someone sooner rather than later. If you're getting new equipment in, talk to someone sooner rather than later, because this is one of those times where you just kind of have to plan ahead a little bit.
Well, and the other thing, as fellow laundromat owners, the other thing I'll throw out there with you is we're in a unique situation. And what I mean by that is A lot of times, because this is actually this is a good thing. So I like to look for the silver linings. So because equipment is in so demand and the supply is so short, if you are in a situation where you're retooling or buying a new store and you think you want to buy new equipment or whatever, go ahead and put your order in. Your distributor will put that order in for you because they have really no risk to order. And I actually have a couple of coaching clients I gave this advice to, and they are very grateful that we went this route. It's worked out amazing for them because what happens is the distributor orders the equipment. Worst case scenario, the deal falls through. You don't end up closing. I don't know, whatever happens and you don't need the equipment, that distributor will happily take that equipment because they can sell it because the laws of supply and demand are so tipped away from them that having, let's say hypothetically 10 60-pound washers in their warehouse that you ordered, that you wanted, and all of a sudden now you don't want them anymore, they can sell those in 5 minutes and make some pretty happy customers right now. And so, whenever there's pros to anything in life, there's cons too. So let's look at it through that lens. I do know several people that are equipment distributors, and I mentioned one of my good friends. And so I will tell you that when it comes to anything computerized, like the touch screens and all that stuff, that's all a computer chip issue, and they don't know when that's going to be solved. So if you want touch equipment, for example, from any manufacturer, if you want touch equipment, just know that they don't know when that problem is going to be solved. It could literally be years from now. If it's worth waiting, that could be an endless waiting game. But the flip side is there is still a pretty good amount of equipment out there that's made that doesn't require whatever chips are in shortage. At least this is what I'm being told. And it tends to be the larger chassis machines. Now, because the demand is so high for what they can manufacture, the laws of supply and demand are now tipping in that way. Because if I would have ordered touch equipment and then I say, well, never mind, I'll go with the non-touch equipment just so I can get what I want and build my laundromat, well, that's increasing or that's degrading the supply and increasing the demand for that equipment where it wouldn't necessarily be as high normally. So you just have to play these things. It's part of being in business. And usually we don't, in America, we don't usually have supply chain issues like we do right now, but we do. And they're probably not going to be solved anytime soon. So my two cents worth on that, my friend.
Way to look at the silver lining. I like your positivity, like I'm just vibing off your positivity right now.
The funny thing is, I think I am an optimist. I think that's fair to say, but what it really is for me is I used to, I grew up, once again, get my book, check out my story, but I grew up in a pretty rough environment and experienced a lot of tragedy in my life. And one of the things I kind of learned from that was, you can waller in your own misery, or you can look for the silver linings. And there's always silver linings. They may not be as big as the negatives, but the negatives you're going through, you can't change anyway. So you might as well just look for the positives. I remember I don't remember who said this, but during 9/11, there was a quote during that crazy, crazy time in downtown New York City and stuff. And someone said, look for the heroes. Look for the hero. As bad as that situation is, look for the heroes. Look for people doing good things in times of tragedy. And this might not be a good parallel, but the reality is, we're going through what we're going through, guys, and equipment is a situation it's in. Let's look for the positives because we can't really change the negatives anyways. So it's kind of something I had to train myself to do. I don't think it's a natural thing. But that's just how I choose to kind of look at life. I guess you go through enough adversity, you're like, you know what? If I'm gonna go through this anyways, I'm gonna learn some stuff. Let's try to look for the things I can learn.
And mine might as well not be miserable doing it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? I know you know this, Jordan. That's a decision we make. Mm-hmm. And we got to take accountability for that. We got to take responsibility and say, you know what? I'm just going to look at it through a different lens. It doesn't mean we bury our head in the sands. It doesn't mean we don't acknowledge the tragedy or whatever is happening in the world. It just means that we choose to focus on something other. So I don't know if that helps at all. This is just laundry equipment. I'm not, not necessarily life-changing things, but maybe that helps people a little bit.
We're being accused of stealing from Mr. Rogers right now. So
Mr. Rogers. Is it Stacy? I don't know. Did he say that? Okay.
Sounds like something he should say.
Yeah.
Real quick on the
I'm
lender
okay with
question.
giving him credit.
Real quick on the lender question. I'm not going to give out any names or specific people. I mean, Eastern was thrown out there. They can be a good option. I always encourage people, hey, if you're interested in laundromat specific lender, shoot me an email, because I have a couple of guys that are really good that I don't get anything for this, but I get a lot of leverage over these guys because I send them a lot of referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are always sure to take care of the people that I send them, because they want me to continue sending people to them. So if you're interested in laundromat specific lender, just shoot me an email and let me do an email introduction. I'll put my email in the chat here, and I'll do an email introduction to you just to make sure they take care of you. And again, I don't get anything for that. Maybe I should, but I don't.
You should.
Hey, somebody said, Dave, their impression is that self-serve laundry is on the decline, and wash and fold and pickup and delivery laundry is on the incline. I don't have any stats to back that up one way or another. Do you have any sense of that, if that's true or false?
I mean, I don't have any data to back this up other than just a lot of conversations that I have, which you have a lot too. I don't think that's true. I don't think they're really related at all. Just my opinion. And I will say that I'm referring to the top of the industry. I think there's way, way, way more laundry in the world than a drop-off laundry, a pickup and delivery, and even a high-end modernized laundromat can handle. Because there's so many terrible laundromats and terrible apartment laundry rooms, and so many residential washers in their homes and dryers that are just, quite frankly, residential washers and dryers are just, I mean, the day you buy them, they're complete crap anymore. The way they're manufactured is just garbage, and so they're unreliable. So I mean, do I think that drop off, or let's just call it wash, dry, fold, and put them in one category? Do I think that's growing? Absolutely. I think it's exploding. And I think us laundromat owners stepping up our game, which correlates back to stepping up the education process and us sharing information with each other. I think these are all directly correlated to us laundromat owners operating better. And when we increase our value proposition, then people are more likely to use our service, whether it's drop off, DoorDash through Sense, pick up and delivery of your own vans, whatever that looks like. There's no doubt about it that the having your laundry done by a laundry service of any kind is absolutely exploding. That's not even debatable. To my knowledge, the information that I have, the self-serve segment, that industry is not shrinking. That industry is growing too. So I don't think there's any correlation there, and I would argue that the self-serve declining. I don't know that that's true. I'm pretty confident it's not. Are there less? And this may be what you're getting at. That I do believe that the number of laundromats in the country are shrinking, but those aren't also correlated. The country 40, 50 years ago, laundromats that were built were primarily smaller, with small footprints, and of course served a small area. Nowadays, the modernized laundromats tend to be anywhere from 3,500 up to 6, 7, 8,000 square feet, and sometimes bigger. And so they can serve a better area, and then the modernization of equipment, we can get them in, get them over, and get them out quicker, which means we can increase our turns per day and still keep our customer satisfaction at a high rate. So when you take all those things into account, I don't think they're correlated at all. I think that was ultimately the question that they asked. And I don't think self-serve is dying at all. I think the bad self-serve laundromat operator is dying, as they should. So let's kill them. Not literally.
Wow, that got graphic, man. Lynch mob, love it. I will get my pitchfork. No, but I think you're right, and I would say maybe not the bad laundromat owner is dying, but the bad laundromats are going out of business, and the owners may or may not be alive. I don't know.
Well, I didn't mean literally. I meant the business.
Too soon to say, really.
The business.
Yeah, no, I know. Kishore, I just want to let you know I saw your issues with Laundromat Resource and you were having problems resetting your password. So I will check in on that for you. I just want to let you know. Card, coin, app was the best payment type.
Oh, geez. You're just picking a fight, aren't you? The answer is it depends, guys. It depends.
Every time. Why did they even come to this? Whatever questions you have, just put it depends in there.
It depends. I'm gonna go have dinner. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really does depend. And the reason what I tell people, and this is my recommendation, is I think your market matters. So I'm a Midwest guy. but I have a ton of conversations with people all over the country and have for 12 years. So I'm aware that not everybody has this Midwest mentality, but let's not also pretend that everybody has that New York City, LA mentality where they want everything on their phone 5 years ago. Because I mean, the country, I always refer to our industry. I'm talking about self-serve now because we're talking about payment systems, but I always refer to it as sub-markets, and I know you do too, Jordan. And in LA, I know you refer to like a sub-market as like a half mile, sometimes even less than a half a mile. But in some markets, a sub-market could be 10 or 15 miles if you're kind of in a rural area. And so those things factor in. But what I tell people is this is just a very general rule of thumb is if you're doing gross self-serve revenue of $0 to $4,000 a week, then there's probably no reason to be anything other than coin. Now, when I say coin, I personally am not a fan of quarters. If you're using quarters right now, there's nothing wrong with that, but I would be looking for a new solution. And if you're just talking staying coin, then probably just want to evolve to dollar coin and just make sure that you can get them from your bank because it's a very easy solution. Dollar coin is a true win-win for the custom compared to quarters. Dollar coin is a true win-win between the consumer and the business owner. You both win. That's the real quick answer on that. Prepaid cards, there are many, many systems, what they call loyalty cards. There are many operators out there in the country that will swear by them. And there's a reason for that because there are ways to run those systems in a very efficient way. Things like Luke Williford does the half, buy half, or what is it he calls it? He's got a name for it.
It's the, I don't know. The
double your dollars.
Yeah, double your dollars.
Double your dollars. Where like he'll open a new store with his card store, whatever, and he'll, if you put $20 on a card, it gives you 40. He'll do that temporarily to get people used to using the card system. So my point is, there's promotions and ways that you can kind of, I don't know if manipulate is the right word, but encourage. Yeah, incentivize. Thank you. Incentivize people to use a card system, and that can be very useful. And then there's phone pay, and the same thing there. You can incentivize people by giving them incentives to buy extra credits on their phone app. And then obviously there's hybrid systems out there. So what my general rule of thumb is $0 to $4,000 a week in gross revenue. You can probably get away with being coin. Anywhere from 4 to 10,000, you probably need to be hybrid in most situations. And I recommend dollar coin hybrid with a card system. And most card systems nowadays also have, phone pay apps and things like that. So you kind of get all three worlds. If I had a store that's over 10,000 a week in self-serve revenue, which I don't, if I did, I would be coinless. There is no way that I would do any coin, including dollar coin, if I were doing volumes like that. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's practical. So those are general rules of thumb. That doesn't mean that you're the terrible operator if you're at 11,000 a week and doing hybrid or whatever. These are just general rules of thumb. So maybe that helps you out a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm right with you. I might, just for fun, argue with you on the dollar coin versus quarter, but ultimately, you're probably right. So, I'm going to shift us into.
I'm always right. What are you talking about?
Oh snap! I'm going to shift us into rapid fire round.
Rapid fire. We got 10 minutes, guys.
I got a bunch of questions here that we haven't touched yet. So keep them short, keep them snappy, keep them valuable. Here are some quick answer questions for you.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. Quick. What are some marketing techniques that have proven success? Digital marketing. Do some digital marketing and go check out. I don't know what happened to my camera. It just got all blurry.
Yeah, you're
blurry. Go check out. I'm better looking blurry anyways. Everybody else, especially my mom. Come back.
Hey, look, I just got better looking too.
Look at that. Man, you are better looking blurry. Go watch.
Now it won't focus on me. I
just
messed up my camera.
Go watch Dave's video on using a professional marketing company. But digital marketing seems to be the best. In terms of those, Facebook tends to be pretty good. Google can be good, especially with you're still blurry. Pickup and delivery or wash, dry, fold. Google could be good. And I've heard a couple people now say they're having really good success with Instagram, which is really just Facebook marketing. But Dave's gone. Oh, now you're real good looking, Dave. That's the best you've ever looked, to be honest.
Bam.
Oh, he's back.
Reset the camera.
Yeah. So, and I saw there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat there. So go check on that. And email marketing.
You asked the marketing guy.
Which I still think that email marketing is by far the least utilized, biggest upside marketing potential for laundromat owners, especially if you're doing a drop-off service or pickup and delivery. But even if you're just doing self-serve, I think email marketing can be a great opportunity, but it does take a little bit of work, and you can automate a lot of it, but it takes some work on the front end to get it set up and to get it set up correctly. So something worth looking into.
What's an example of that? What's an example of that? We're using, because you're talking about like self-serve, drop-off, pickup and delivery, whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, you got to collect email addresses to build a list. And actually, I was looking at a laundromat just today with a consulting client who the laundromat's actually coming with a list of 4,000 customers.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of different things you can do with that. Number one, just being in their inbox and reminding them, hey, especially if they're pick up and deliver or something like that. Hey, we have, don't forget, it's Mother's Day coming up. Give your mom the gift of free laundry. Here's a double your money for the whatever your promotion is, that you can do for that. Just reminding people that you're around. If there's even, you can even get as general as, hey, this is happening in the community. Don't miss out. We're going to be there, or, that kind of thing. But really, you can do promotions that way. You can offer things that way. You can even sell through your email marketing if you have things to sell. So, I think this is rapid fire round, so I don't want to get too much into the details, but maybe I should, or you should, or we should find somebody to make some content on that, because I do think that that's a huge opportunity that we're missing out on as an industry.
Yeah, I agree. We should talk about that more.
All right. What about a monthly subscription model for doing laundry? Would that work?
I don't know anybody that's had success with it. I know a handful of people that have tried, and I have my hypothesis on it. My hypothesis is actually, you didn't mention if it's self-serve, but I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. My hypothesis is actually the same as like a buy the bag subscription for pickup and delivery. And what I always say is, this is just my opinion, so don't attack me, guys. My opinion is that I believe in value proposition, and I believe a win-win relationship between the business owner and the consumer. We both want to win. We want to make money. They want to get their product done, but they also don't want to pay for more than they use. And I'm not a fan of that in our industry. And the reason why is, whether it's using a large machine versus a small machine in a self-serve environment, or doing drop-off laundry.
We have a lot of questions
by the bag. Sorry. What it boils down to is, if you do a subscription service, someone is getting ripped off. If you do fill a bag halfway and you pay $50 for it, then the business owner is getting ripped off. If you fill it up with 80 pounds of laundry and you're paying 20 cents a pound, or I had that backwards, the consumer is being ripped off if the bag isn't filled up. And so it's not a win-win. It's not a true exchange of value. So I'm not a fan, is what it boils down to. Somebody has to lose.
Yeah. And I don't like win-lose situations, especially in a business relationship. But even in like a negotiation, I don't really like that. Somebody asked about Pbi Laundry Consulting. I know those guys personally, so shoot me an email if that was you, jordan@laundromatresource.com. I would love to tell you about those guys. You just talked about price per bag. When's a good time to find a mentor? When in the process of buying a laundromat is a good time to find a mentor? What do you think?
I think the easy thing to say is today, but since we're doing quick answers, what I would tell people is, at a minimum 45 to 60 days before you close on a laundromat. What I always tell coaching clients is, you can do an awful lot of research and a lot of homework and a lot of reading and diligence. As long as you don't sign anything, you don't take action, you don't close on something or put a deposit down, then you can't really do yourself much damage other than just wasting a little bit of time. But when you start making definitive decisions, like putting offers in, or God forbid, closing on a laundromat without having the knowledge base, either paying for it or having it yourself, then that's a dangerous thing. So somewhere in that window, between when you decide to do something and when you actually do something, somewhere in that window.
Yeah. And real quick, for me, I would say, after you've done some homework, you can't, hire a consultant expecting them to educate. It's not going to be cost effective for you if you expect them to educate you along the process. So do your own education, and when you're ready to take action, that's when you bring somebody on board. So similar to what you said. Are pickup and delivery margins 40 to 50%? Is that what you should be looking at?
No. I mean, once again, every situation is different. If you're just what I call dinking and dunking, if you're just doing pickup and delivery, you got one van and, maybe you're in LA and you do it 2 miles from your store. You're not, in other words, you're not trying to grow this robust business. Yeah, you could probably get away with margin, something like that, but I'd say that's definitely the exception rather than the rule. Typically, it's about 30 to 35% if you're like in a route-based business. And by the way, in the first year or two, you can pretty much expect to either break even or lose money. So don't expect to just buy a van, go out and pick up 100 pounds of laundry and have a 30, 35% margin. You got to scale. You got to scale. So don't let anybody tell you, hey, you're going to do 500 pounds a month within month one, and you're going to be 30% margins, because they're just lying to you, folks. They're using you. You have to scale the business to get to those margins.
You've answered this before on other Q&As, and I've answered it before too. How often should you change machines?
Since we're rapid fire, I recommend 12 to 15 years, but it also depends on your volume. If you're doing 2 to 3 turns per day, you can get away with a high quality laundromat operation. That's a little bit further. Once again, depends on the equipment. I mean, this is a rapid fire question. So 12 to 15 years is a pretty good rule of thumb.
We're taking Dave way out of his comfort zone right now.
You're killing me, man.
He just wants to go for days. Too much good knowledge in there. Okay. I saw a few different answers on the average pounds of pickup and delivery order. Do you have anything to say on that?
Average pounds per customer?
Yeah.
I think that's also going to vary a lot. I know Stacy mentioned in here that she's 20 something, but she's in Florida. I thought that was a fantastic point. The weather does matter. We all know that. I mean, in the Midwest, in the winter, we go up 10, 15%. And in the summer, we drop 10 or 15%. So there's a 30% swing there just between having cold weather clothes and warm weather clothes. So if you're always in a warm weather environment, yeah, I think that does calculate in. I think I checked on this about a year ago, and I've been doing pickup and delivery for about 5 years, and our average pounds per pickup was like 48 pounds. It was like $67, and that was probably before I raised my prices, so it's probably closer to $80 now. But yeah, 40 to 45, but Stacy's an example of a cold market or a warm market where you're probably going to be closer to 30.
Yeah, bikinis and Speedos are pretty light, so.
They are. It also depends on your customers. If you're doing my laundry, heavy. If you're doing Jordan's, a little bit lighter, or a lot lighter. Plus, he doesn't wear a shirt. So.
Yeah, especially since I'm shirtless half the time. Okay, so what do you do when distributors are price gouging you and you don't have any other options because the distributor is gouging and they're just representing all the manufacturers? I don't know what you do in that situation.
I mean, if that's literally a true situation, and I'm not going to say it doesn't exist, because if you say it does, then it does. But if it's literally that situation, I personally, I don't say this lightly at all. I would report them, and I'm not kidding. And I don't say that lightly. If that were really happening, I think that as a general rule, us consumers, just generally speaking, we tend to jump to this price gouging conclusion when it's usually not a true fair assessment. But I'm not saying that in this case. But I mean, we all know, like, if you truly have a distributor, the services like Cincinnati, where I live, for example, and they absolutely have a distributorship over every, let's say, the 7 major manufacturers, that situation could exist, and that is what I would do.
All right, rapid fire. We have 0 minutes and 2 questions left. Should we all just rip off the Band-Aid, get rid of our top loaders now, or should we ride them out until it's time to replace them and replace them with something else?
That's why you said rapid fire, right?
Rapid fire. We have 0 minutes, 2 questions. This is one.
We should not all do that. The answer is it depends, and everybody should make decisions based on their education, their market, their consumers. But to assume that all top loader or all laundromats should have top loaders in them is equally as flawed of a mental exercise. How about that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think make a good business decision.
Yeah,
go back to the numbers and make a good business decision. If you need help with that, find a good consultant or another owner or a Facebook group or something like that, someone to help you make a good business decision.
Yeah. Don't ever let somebody from North Carolina tell you in North Dakota that you should never have a top loader in your store. I mean, in a Facebook group, and then and that be the be all end all, and that's how you make decisions. Guys, we got to be better than that.
Yeah. All right. We have negative 1 minute. Last question. Remote ownership. Should you do it? Should you not do it?
Holy moly, you're killing me over here. It depends.
Let's end it on that. We've answered that question in almost every single live Q&A. So go check that out. It's possible. It's difficult. Maybe not recommended unless you're in certain situations where you have an on-the-grounds partner or something like that.
You got to have a solid operating partner, guys.
This has been awesome. You guys have been awesome.
Awesome.
Man, thank you so much, not just for your questions, but thank you guys for engaging. Again, I say this all the time. That's my favorite part. You guys' conversation over there and helping each other out. Super, super cool. So thank you guys again for joining us. Hopefully you found some good value in there. Dave, as always, you are an all-star. Appreciate you, man, and all the information and insight that you bring. And a lot of fun, as always. Thanks, man.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate you having me here. And guys, we will do this again next month on my channel, Laundromat Resource Channel. And in the meantime, I hope to see you guys at our live event because we're going to be giving away some cool stuff October 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And if you don't come to see me, come to see Jordan Berry because he's going to be there. I appreciate you guys. Shirtless. And the last thing I'm going to throw out there, what's that? They want you to be shirtless? Whatever, dude.
Both of us, right?
No, nobody wants to see that. Nobody, including me. I have, and it's ugly. No, and the last thing I'm going to add, guys, is we hope you will come back and do this with again next month because we love doing this. But tell other people. I know every single one of you know laundromat owners, and we're not here to sell anything. We don't have any ulterior motives. We're just here trying to elevate the industry, help you guys, and help each other in the comments section. So please do me a favor, do us a favor. Tell your friends that are in the industry, people that are interested in the industry, put it in your Facebook groups or whatever chats you're in, or if you talk to people offline, if you have lunch with people in your market or whatever, all these things happen in our industry. Do us a favor and tell people about this because we don't have any ulterior motive here. We just want to help people. The more people we can get in these groups, the more we can help each other. And that's really what about elevating the industry is all about. So
yeah,
thank you so much.
Last thing I'm going to leave you with is go take some action this week. I say this all the time, but you're never going to achieve whatever goals you have unless you take some action. So you're doing the learning here. Keep learning, keep researching, and then go take some action on it. So find something in here that you can take some action on, big or small, and go take some action this week. Get closer to your goals. All right, guys.
Absolutely.
We will see you next month for our 12th live Q&A. That's like a full year we've been doing this starting next month.
That is. Exciting. That's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you being here.
Jason said we're not wearing pants right now. Maybe not.
You'll never know, Jason.
We'll leave you with that. Bye, guys.
See ya. Take care, guys.